It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On NC State, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Wolfpack fans. It's me again, Kenton Gibbs, bringing you another episode of Locked On Wolfpack. And ladies and gentlemen, we could name this episode Two Wrong Guys because we were both incorrect in our predictions of Clemson just barely escaping the Carter with a win. But we are both happy to tell you that we are wrong. A living legend in the game, Brett Friedlander. How you doing, big time?
I am doing well, and I have to say that I prefaced it by saying I thought that State could win, but until they proved otherwise in a big game, I couldn't pick them. Well, they proved otherwise.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. I think that both of us saw that it was a possibility. Both of us picked the game to be less than a touchdown. You know, and mind you, listeners, yes, we're trying to console our egos for being wrong right now. That's what's happening. You're watching that in real time. But anywho, yeah, we both said that it was going to be a close game. Things just did not, work out in the way that they traditionally do for NC State. But that brings me to talk about just that game, the 27-21 double overtime thriller over Clemson. What did you see in that game, and what's your analysis of how NC State pulled a win out of that game?
Well, first of all, it should never have been that close. NC State dominated that game. They ran 92 plays to 45 for Clemson, held onto the ball for 40 minutes, over 40 minutes. I mean, they controlled the ball on offense for almost 3 out of the 4 quarters and still had to go to overtime. So they should have won by more, and it was their own fault. It was their own, mistakes in the first half. It was penalties. It was the trick play that didn't go well. It was the missed field goals. But to me, it's almost better that State won this way, because if they would have just won this game, you could have said, well, Clemson's down and all this, yada, yada, yada. But I think they exercised the demons by having to face all those things that always seem to go wrong against Clemson or in big games, and this time it didn't beat them. I thought that was incredibly important, and now the importance is, where do you go from here?
The things that you talked about there, absolutely on point. You've got a situation where we had almost 40 minutes of time of possession to Clemson's 18. We had over 40 minutes of time possession to Clemson's 18. Or something in that area to where we almost tripled them up. I want to say we were very close to, doubling them up. Whatever they had, we had almost double as far as time possession goes. That is vitally important. Because and here's the thing. And like I said, listeners, we're going to soothe our egos for being wrong here. But, you said Chris Dunn was going to be the X factor one way or the other. 0 for 3 on the day. You were absolutely right. You did not say that he was going to win State the game. You said he was going to be an X factor, and he surely was. I said the time of possession was going to tell the tale of this game, because I knew Clemson's offense right now does not have the explosive, take your top off, big playability that they've had in years past. So with that being said, if you don't have take the top off, what do you have to do? Drives. Long, steady, just drawn out drives. They could not do that. We could. We had many a drive. And I'll tell you what, like you said, there was the field goal situation as well as a drop pass where it fell right in Anthony Smith's breadbasket. And he was just like, I don't want to catch a touchdown against Clemson today. That's not what's in the cards for me. The game shouldn't have been that close. If it wasn't for trick plays, which, by the way, can we abolish trick plays?
Yeah,
can we? Let's, all the things that people are talking about getting rid of in society today, let's please get rid of trick plays at NC State. Let's throw them away.
NC State doesn't need it with the running game that they have, with the O-line that they have. And let me just say, Dave Doran before this week said that in order to win games like this, you have to make big boy plays. And let me tell you something. Emeka Emezi made a big boy catch on the first touchdown, and Devin Carter made an even bigger big boy catch in overtime. And Devin Leary put 2 dimes right on the button. Neither one of those passes was getting intercepted. Remember when I said that if you can't score touchdowns, get 3 points, get field goals? Well, those passes were the kind that if they weren't complete, they would still have been in position to get those kicks. And so, kudos to all of them on the offensive side. And on the defense, was Corey Durden not a man? I mean, was he not an absolute beast up front? What an X factor he was.
Absolutely. And let me tell you something. This is a situation where, and this is what I hate that happens sometimes when there are upsets of this magnitude early in the season. It all of a sudden becomes, well, that team really wasn't that good to begin with. No, that's still a very quality Clemson team. Because if you're saying Clemson's bad, then you're also saying Georgia's bad.
Yeah, and you know what, Kenton? It doesn't matter what Clemson is. It's a hump you had to get over. And you know what? Even if Clemson is bad, that makes it all the more important to beat them.
Absolutely. You have got to, at the end of the day, you have got to beat the big dogs on the block in order to be the big dogs on the block. And this was what that win was. This win, it doesn't matter if you say Clemson had a down year, Clemson had whatever year. Doesn't matter. And also, you're very premature in saying that because we don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out. Yeah, they lose a very vital piece and receive for the rest of the year. Yeah, they lose some very vital pieces in Will Shipley as well being out for what looks to be a decent amount of time with his knee problem. But we don't know where the rest of this season goes. Georgia has Arkansas coming in this week, an Arkansas team that's already beat a couple top 10 teams, or a top 10 team rather. You don't know where they're going to go from there. You've got Clemson with the whole season left in front of them, and of course you've got us that has the whole season ahead of us to prove this has nothing to do with what Clemson is or is not. This is what we are. And honestly, I'll tell you what, I have said this all along, and I still stand by this even after watching that game a few more times. Every game this season, except for USF, have left points on the board. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. So, to me, we haven't even seen this team functioning at peak efficiency. We haven't seen this team when they're like, all right, here's the thing, Devin. You know how to get behind people. Let's work on tracking the ball. Let's work on tracking the ball on these long, really deep routes. You have the speed to get behind people. We can't take advantage of it if you can't track. Anthony Smith has been hit or miss so far on his deep balls. But that's the fact of the matter is, if we don't leave points on the board for the rest of the year, this is going to be a great year. But that's a tall task to ask of any college team. I understand that. But I'm just saying, we have not played a game yet where I said, that team just beat us. That other team, they flat out dominate. And granted, yes, we only have one loss to Mississippi State, but that's what I'm saying here. It shouldn't be about what Clemson is or is not. It should be about what NC State is.
Yep. And, I want to bring up a point here, too, on those deep balls. I would love to see them call one of those plays for Porter Rooks because we really haven't seen a lot of him. And we've also seen that Devin Carter isn't, that guy, and Anthony Smith still has work to do to be that guy, that home run threat. I want to see Rooks because he's got good hands, he's really quick, and he's got a history. I mean, last year he made some really difficult catches in the end zone. So, there are tweaks still that can be made. I mean, we're still really early in this season. We're not halfway through yet. And the meat of this schedule is coming up because after Louisiana Tech, you have back-to-back road games at Boston College and Miami. And while Boston College is without its starting quarterback and Miami has looked like a dumpster fire and De'Aaron King is out, there's still road games against ACC opponents. So, there is still time to make those tweaks and to add things to the arsenal.
Absolutely. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of this as far as what goes for the rest of the season. And we'll talk about that a little more. But we've also got to talk about this Louisiana Tech game because I've told people time and time again, folks keep saying, "Oh, they've beat the NC State stuff," or "Oh, Doran said that we've gotten rid of the demons." And I keep telling folks, the demon is not just in winning the big game. That's not just where it lies for this program. It's how you follow up the win to the big game. It's a situation of Louisiana Tech starting quarterback is out. He was pretty much their offense. What do we do? Are we going to have fans sweating it out against a Louisiana Tech team that plays up to good opponents and down to bad opponents? Who knows? Who knows if we'll have our fans sweating it out about that? But just in case you are, make sure you get Sweat Block. Here is a quick thing for you to think about. Sweat Block is doctor created and doctor recommended, and it works up to 7 days per use. Sweat Block has a dry shirt guarantee. Basically, if Sweat Block doesn't keep you dry, you get your money back. It's been featured and tested on The Rachel Ray Show by firefighters. And it's a bestseller on Amazon for over a decade with over 13,000 reviews. It's currently #1 in Amazon's antiperspirant category, and it's manufactured right here in the US of A. Wear what you want. It's your little secret to confidence. This is a must-have for everyone's toiletry bag, whether it's a big presentation, a hot date, doesn't matter. Everyone can benefit. So if you or someone you know is dealing with this, have them check out Sweatblock. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with promo code LOCKEDON or at Amazon and CVS.
David Harrison here, the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast, celebrating with you a 21 grain salute to a less boring sandwich thanks to Dave's Killer Bread. I don't know about you guys, but when I eat pizza, I eat it for the toppings, not the crust. And when I eat a sandwich, it's for what's inside the bread, not for the bread. But when I throw a sandwich on 21 whole grains and seeds, thin sliced bread from Dave's Killer Bread, it is the epitome of addition by subtraction. That thin sliced bread lets me focus on what's inside the sandwich, but also adds to the sandwich with killer taste, killer texture, killer nutrition, a subtle sweetness, and a seed-coated crust. Dave's Killer Bread is America's #1 organic bread for a reason. It tastes so stinking good. Dave's Killer Bread is made with the highest quality organic and non-GMO ingredients and is power-packed with whole grains, fiber, and protein. Visit daveskillerbread.com to learn more and look for Dave's Killer Bread in the bread aisle of your local grocery store.
So, Brett, looking at this Louisiana Tech team, okay, what are you thinking is going to be the outcome of this game, and what do you think State has to do to come out on top?
Well, the one thing State has to do to come out on top is come out and be State. Don't come out there, walk out, roll out the football, and think that this is going to be an easy game, because this is not USF. This is definitely not Furman. This is a capable Division I, FBS program that can move the ball and has shown it can move the ball against Power 5 programs. I don't think this game is going to come down to X's and O's or Jimmys and Johns or any of that stuff. I think it's going to come down to what, the Wolfpack shows up between the ears. I think if they have the right mindset in this, they execute, they come in, they take it seriously, I think they win this game, and they win it without any kind of sweat. But now if they show up, if they just go through the motions, if they let Louisiana Tech get some success and some confidence early, then they could be in for a fight. I mean, this is a team that was ahead of Mississippi State by 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And ended up losing at the end when they took their foot off the accelerator and started playing not to lose. So I think this comes down to not turning the ball over, taking this opponent seriously, and being yourself, doing the things that you do. I mean, defensively, if they get after the quarterback the way they did last week, then this is going to be a fun night at Carter Finley. But if they don't, if they let him stand back there and throw the ball, or either one of them, I think they've got 2 guys who have played.
Yep. Head and Allen. Yeah.
Then then they're going to be in for trouble. So I think this is all on State and how it approaches this game, because I think they're the better team, they're the deeper team, and right now they've got a lot of confidence. But again, if they get overconfident, that could be a problem.
Absolutely. The fact of the matter is very, very simple here. This team, this is an inferior team. Let's be honest with ourselves here, right? And I know, stop me if you've heard this before, because I said the same thing about Mississippi State. Still stand by that. But Louisiana Tech gave Mississippi State a better game than we did. Granted, they had their starting quarterback, Austin Kendall, at that time, right? Now, Austin Kendall is going to be out this game. He was out last game because of a medical issue, which apparently has not been cleared up yet. But what I can say is,
you know what that says to me, by the way? That says to me concussion, but that's just where they don't give you a lot of information. Yeah.
That's very possible. That's very possible. My whole thing about this situation is, this is a team that, even with Austin Kendall, wasn't going to hit big plays all over you. They're a death by 1,000 cuts offense. And you have to, in situations like that, you have to say, you know what? I think my guys are better than your guys. Your guys have to prove to me that they can get open. I'm not just going to sit back in coverage and say, it's all right. You all take what you can get, and we'll maybe figure it out in the red zone. That's not how this game is going to work. This is a situation where we've got to get up in their receiver's face, get physical, make them beat us over the top. And they've got some athletes now. They got some ball players in Smoke Harris, and the freshman Trey, I want to say it may be Trey Jones. I can't remember his name.
It's Trey Harris.
Trey Harris.
Yeah.
Trey Harris.
And actually, Smoke Harris, the top two receivers are Harris.
There you go. Smoke Harris and Trey Harris. They're both ballers. They're both ball players. But I don't know if you have the guy that can get him to rock deep. I don't know if you got the guy to do that. Yeah. So I'm going to say, you know what? Beat us over the top. If you can do that consistently, you may give us a game. But when you're betting on beating us over the top, you're also going to have to protect against those big boys up front. You're also going to have to protect against them up front. And I'm not so sure if y'all can do that. I think that that's the margin where we get in and truly make our hay against this team. Like you said, this is a game where it's not about them. It's not. And honestly, let me just say this, right? I don't think that this is a state team that is just loaded with 5 stars at every position. And if you throw a rock in the huddle, you're more likely to hit a future Pro Bowler than a guy who won't play in the NFL. I don't think that this state team is that, right? But looking at the rest of this schedule, especially this game, I don't see a single game where I'm like, it's not about us, it's about them. It's about finding what they don't do, stopping their thing. I think for the rest of the way, we've got, hey, do you, do us, be the best version of us, and we'll be all right. And it starts with this game.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I tell you what, the defensive line is a group that really was not talked about an awful lot in the offseason and in the early part of this season, because the first few games they didn't put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, but then again they weren't dialing up a lot of blitzes, and it was they were outmanned, and now they've turned it up. They've opened up the entire playbook, and I think you saw their full potential against Clemson last week. Now, Clemson's offensive line is got issues, but they took full advantage of it. And again, and you hate to see a guy get hurt. C.J. Clark, good player, good kid. He'll be back. But, listen, it opened the door for Corey Durden, and I can't stress enough how dominating that young man was against Clemson on Saturday and how big a difference. He's a difference maker in the middle of that defense, as good as Aleem McNeil was and is. And he's doing it in the NFL right now.
Right.
I think
for my
Durden
Lions.
For
my Lions, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. Who really let another one get away this weekend. But Durden is a more dynamic player. He does more things. I mean, Aleem is a big guy who took up a lot of space and he was athletic for his size. Mm-hmm. But Durden is he's just a different animal, and he made a huge difference Saturday. Yeah. For defensive linemen, I like to have 2 different categories, especially for interior guys. You've got disruptors and playmakers, okay? Your disruptor is the guy who he's going to disrupt blocking schemes primarily in the run game simply because he exists in the space. And people believe that you're this just because you're 330 pounds or so. There's been 330-pounders that do not play with good leverage, or they're not quick enough to truly disrupt a running game. You can run away from them, cut them, and that's all right. That's it. You've got it. Then you're not a true disruptor. You're not an elite disruptor. If you just clog up the A-gaps when they run dives, you're not an elite disruptor. Aleem McNeil was elite at it, and he had a little pass rush juice to him. Corey Durden is more of a playmaker. A playmaker is a guy that is going to get upfield,
that is going to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage more consistently. And the thing is, they normally have more pass rush juice, but if you run away from them, that's a little more easy to manage because normally they're in a 3 technique or wider. 3 technique means you're on the outside shade of the guard. If you run away from that side of the field, it's really hard for a 3 technique to run it down. Trust me, I was decently athletic at the position, and I can tell you, very, very hard. Very hard to do. So, with that being said, you're absolutely right in saying that Corey Durden, he does a variety of things. And he was a dude Saturday. He was a dude. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was a bad man. And at the end of the day, if he continues that throughout the season, with Clark going down, like you said, we're going to need folks to step up. We're going to need folks to come in and make up for what we're lacking out of him. And we'll see how this thing is going forward. And now, you thought you weaseled your way out of making a prediction here, Brett, but we're going to get you. We're going to get you right after this break. All right, we're going to get you right after. But before we get to Brett's prediction, I got to tell you all about Rock Auto. With the amazing and ever-increasing number of parts and makes and models available, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts that you need. So why endure the often pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning about your vehicle and wait while the person behind the counter orders parts on their computer, choosing only the brand that their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket, and you're probably listening to me talk to you from one of them. So save time and money when you go to Rock Auto. Don't spend 30 or 50 or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain auto store or car dealership. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and Rock Auto's prices are always reliably low. So go to rockauto.com right now and you see all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked on in the How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Also, let me tell you all about betonline.ag. They're back and better than ever with all eyes on the gridiron as teams are getting into the thick of conference play. And as always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. With a new updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus. And on your first deposit, don't forget to use promo code LOCKEDON to receive the bonus. From football to basketball to boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. So, Brett, I need your prediction. What do you think the final score of this game is?
All right, so this is all the classic makings of a trap game, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a non-conference game coming off a big win that everybody is already talking about how the history of NC State is they always give one back after they take a good one. I think a backup quarterback, the way this defense is playing at home, the way the 12th man has been this year has been incredible. I don't think that this one's going to be close. I think the defense makes another statement. I think they don't leave as many points on the board, but I think that Doran gets guys out of there. I'm going to say 31-10 NC State.
I predicted a very similar score, if not the exact same score. I got to go back and listen yesterday because I think I predicted about the exact same score. But, you know, the very interesting thing about this game to me is the reason that I don't think, you know, traditionally when you see these trap games, it's always in the small numbers that people don't really pay attention to. This game, the little numbers that people don't pay attention to work out in NC State's favor. Yeah. For example, we like to run the ball. When we're running the ball well, that's when we're at our best. Louisiana Tech is allowing an average of 4.6 or 4.9 yards per carry. One of those two. Basically, they're allowing half a first down on every carry, and they have not seen a rushing game like ours. I mean, that's just the reality there. Now, which rushing game will show up? Will it be the one from Clemson or the one from Mississippi State? Heaven only knows. But with that being said, it'll be I mean, even against Mississippi State, we had flashes of looking good for drives. So it'll be a very interesting sight to see. I think that NC State gets the game. I think that NC State gets it done here as well. I think that it isn't close. And at the end of the day, I think that this team, even heading into a bye week, they still know how big health has lingered already this season, losing some very key pieces for the season. And I think that they understand if they don't take care of business early, they'll be leaving more very vital guys in positions to get hurt. So I think that this will be early, downhill, no frills, no double reverse passes this week, no jump passes this
God,
week.
I hope not.
Just zone left, zone right, a little bit of power, a little bit of counter, hit them with a deep ball here and there off the play action and keep it pushing.
And get out of town, yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? They got 2 away games right after this, so I guess they literally are getting out of town. Anywho, thank you so much, Brett, for coming out. You can find the man's work at BFriedACC on Twitter. And let me tell you, he broke a pretty big story today. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You got to go to his Twitter to find out. But he broke a pretty big story in Central North Carolina sports today. Make sure you go check it out. Like I said, he's the godfather of this thing. He's been doing it since before I knew what to do with it. Thank you all so very much for coming out. Peace and love, y'all. And as always, go Pack.
You are Locked On NC State, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.